Galbrena is officially out, and she seems like a fantastic, versatile and strong character that can fit on a multitude of teams. But is she strong enough to be one of the best in the whole game? I'm Endgame Systems, a channel dedicated to the endgame of Wuthering waves, and today we will be putting Galbrena to the test by comparing her to another high value unit, Carlotta. Galbrena and Carlotta are the two premier pistol hyper carries in the game as of now, and they actually have a lot of similar traits. They have high baseline damage, they're relatively simple to play, and most importantly, neither of them has a signature reliance, so you can actually get by not pulling the signature and putting them on static mist. And so at first glance, it seems like these two units are really similar in value. I care a lot about flexibility and pull value, so today the way I'll go about this is I'm going to present you with a premium team, an alternative team, and a free-to-play team for both of these units, and then we're going to put them head to head to see which ones come out on top. Because one thing that decides a DPS's value is what kind of units you need to pull alongside them. If you can pull generally great units alongside them, in my opinion, the value of the DPS themselves actually rises exponentially, because that means you'll have other usable units for other possible teams on your account. So let's see just how flexible these two units are, starting with Galbrena. So as mentioned, Galbrena comes with very good baseline damage, her signature being around a 20% damage increase. It's not like Frulova's 40% damage increase or Yuno's 40% damage increase. This is a much more reasonable drop-off for a character. So for the premium team, we have an expectation but not a certainty. The team will be Galbrena, Chi-Yuan and Shorekeeper, and this is expected to be her best in slot team, so let's talk about it. So Chi-Yuan's kit is all about echo skill damage. However, his exact numbers and overall kit is not exactly finished yet. I think what we can say about him is that as a new unit, Hero Games is going to make sure that he's very usable. My personal guess as to his value is that he will be premium for Galbrena, and then he will be a very solid second or third choice for a bunch of different teams. So I think no matter what, he's going to be a high value unit. I don't think he's going to be incredibly niche. But yeah, of course this premium team is going to be super strong together. Very solid premium team. One very nice thing about Shorekeeper is that her signature is one of the least important signatures in the whole game. You can easily play her with variation and get away with that, and that really talks in favor of anybody that uses Shorekeeper, because it means you don't need an additional signature there. Now for Galbrena's alternative team, we have the monofusion team, and here we have two variations. The first one being Lupa, Brant and Galbrena, and the second one being Lupa, Monofusion and Galbrena. Both of these teams come with pros and cons. Now for the Brant variation, Brant is a pretty signature reliant character, and specifically for the monofusion team, Lupa is also a signature reliant character. Her weapon buffs up that team a very good amount, so for a monofusion team you do want Lupa's signature. And so this team becomes very expensive. You need two characters and their signatures to pull it off, whereas the Monofusion variation only requires Lupa and her signature, and then you can actually run static mist on Galbrena and Monofusion, and you will have a full team ready to go. Now as to which one is better of those two, I think it's safe to say that the Brant variation will overpower Monofusion. However, I also think if you don't have Brant's signature, it might actually be a pretty close call. It might be pretty close in damage and stuff. But yeah, I do think the Brant variation will just overpower the Monofusion variation, but it's still nice that there's two options though. And lastly, the free-to-play variation is with Monofusion and Arena, and this is where things fall apart a little bit, because I do think that this is one of the weaker free-to-play teams in the game. I don't think it provides super high value, and the reason for that is that Monofusion, besides dealing good damage with his ultimate, will not do that much on this team. Yes, it's true that Galbrena scales somewhat off heavy attack damage, but I think it's a very small portion of her damage that comes from heavy attack damage. The majority of her damage is going to be echo skill, and what that means is that there isn't that great synergy between these three characters. I don't think Galbrena's free-to-play team is that incredibly good, but in return she will definitely have a top-tier premium team, and the monofusion team has obviously stood the test of time as well. That is also an incredibly good team. Now the main thing to note is that the monofusion team definitely does not require Galbrena. Galbrena requires it more than anything. And what I mean by that is that the core of that team is Brant and Lupa, and whatever third fusion teammate you pick as the last slot, it's only going to be marginal upgrades or downgrades between each other. And so this third spot on the monofusion team is already highly contested, and in that regard, Galbrena doesn't bring that much to the table. Now let's talk about Carlotta. Carlotta also has fantastic baseline damage. Her signature is not important to her. It's also something like a 20% damage bonus to her overall kit. And in that regard, Galbrena and Carlotta is pretty similar, but Carlotta scales with resonant skill damage, which is more accessible than echo skill damage as of now. First, let's talk about Carlotta's premium team, which is going to be Carlotta, Jessie and Shorekeeper. So Jessie taking Chi-Yuan's spot on this team as opposed to the Galbrena team. What we can say about Jessie is that she is best in slot for a team or two, but then she's going to fall off and be a second or third best option for various teams. I do think at this point in time, Jessie is not the best unit ever to bet your Astride on, as opposed to getting other units. And obviously the two together just work wonders due to Jessie buffing resonant skill damage and glacial damage while providing very respectable personal damage. Jessie is a bit of a wildcard there. I do think she's going to get more synergies in the future, but I also think Kuro Games is going to focus more on echo skill damage as opposed to resonant skill damage. That's just my personal take on it. So I do think Chio-An's value will scale significantly more than Jessie's in the future. Carlotta's alternative team, I've decided to go with Carlotta, Brant and Shawkeeper, and the reason for this is that I think Brant works fantastically with Carlotta. I do think it's her second best team, and this is of course assuming a Brant with his signature that is able to do massive nukes and then do his outro and buff up resonant skill damage for Carlotta. And this is kind of a dual DPS kind of setup where Carlotta will take up more time than Brant on her rotation. He is going to deal more damage than Brant, but Brant is definitely going to pull his weight with his own personal damage. And yeah, this is obviously a good team as well. Very similar to Galbrena once again, and you just can't go wrong with Brant. He is just a fantastic character at this point. It's also worth to note that this team is one of the best teams ever for holograms. Shawkeeper heals, Brant also heals and gives a massive shield, and then Carlotta is incredibly safe. But yeah, this team is super neat for holograms. Now lastly, let's talk about Carlotta's free-to-play teams. So in my opinion, there's three main characters we can talk about. She can play with Tao-Chi, with Lumi, or with Sanwa. Tao-Chi and Lumi both buff up resonant skill damage, while Sanwa has a really quick rotation. Now let's review these teams and put them head to head against each other. So first up, obviously Galbrena's premium team is a bit dubious as of now. We don't exactly know how strong it's going to be, but I think it's safe to expect that it's going to be absolutely top tier. And I also think it's safe to expect that Chio-An is going to be a more flexible and useful unit overall to your account than Jessie is. I would expect this team to be stronger than Carlotta's premium team, and I will give the edge to Galbrena's premium team here. I think Jessie is old news at this point, and I think Chio-An as a new unit is just going to pull his weight and be versatile enough to warrant putting him above Jessie. As I mentioned, I also think echo skill damage is going to be a bigger priority for Kuro Games than resonant skill damage dealers. So yeah, Galbrena takes the win for the best premium team. The alternative teams, obviously the monofusion team is fantastic. It is also really premium. I am going to give the edge to Galbrena once again here. If you're willing to build this monofusion team with Galbrena in mind, it is going to be an absolute banger of a team, an absolute top tier team. Meanwhile, Carlottas Brand variation provides extreme safety, very high damage, and is also a fantastic team. So the upside of playing this Brand team with Carlotta is that you have one of the safest teams in the game, one of the best teams for holograms, because you can just play it really safe. These two are really close and they serve incredibly different roles on your account, but due to the really high value of the monofusion team, I am going to give the edge to Galbrena. In the free-to-play category, Carlotta definitely beats Galbrena. I don't think the Motefi team is that incredible. I think too much of Galbrena's kit scales with echo skill damage. Motefi's value in the team just isn't that high. Whereas with Carlotta, she has different options and the buffs are more substantial and matter more for her. So yeah, overall I would give the free-to-play win to Carlotta. And so, in my mind, it's 2-1 in favor of Galbrena right now. But let's talk about the elephant in the room that in my opinion sways the whole conversation. And that is of course the fact that Galbrena is fusion and Carlotta is glacier. The downside of being a fusion character is that you're in a very contested element, and most people have good characters for this element already. I think it is the most stacked element at this point especially, but we already have Looper, Brant, Changli, and even something like Encore that can slot in on the monofusion team just fine. And we of course also have Motefi, which is a great 4-star. And yeah, it's just a very stacked element, and so Galbrena's value is naturally lower because of that. In comparison, Carlotta is the only good Glacier DPS, and it's actually to the point where Kuro Games hasn't released a single Glacier character since Carlotta, so yeah, it's been a really long time since a Glacier character. I think that in itself skyrockets Carlotta's value. So in conclusion, which unit is better? My cop-out answer would of course be that it depends on your account. It depends on if you currently own a fusion character or you want to own another fusion character, because in that case Galbrena's value simply fades. Carlotta is always going to provide you great value right now, because she is the only good Glacier DPS. And that fact just can't be overstated. Carlotta is just fantastic because she just runs the Glacier element as of now. And because of that, I am personally giving the edge to Carlotta. I think she is the better unit right now because of the scarcity of her element, supply and demand essentially. But it is really close, and I do think Galbrena will be a top tier DPS in Wuthering Waves. I think it's worth to note that Galbrena's premium team should be even stronger than Carlotta's premium team. And yeah, both units are really flexible, really strong, and has tons of different team options. while remaining simple to play. You can't really go wrong with either of them, but Galbrena's fusion element could be redundant on your account if you already have a bunch of fusion characters. That's my thoughts about the Galbrena versus Carlotta conversation. Do you guys agree with my opinion? Let me know down in the comments below. We're almost at 100 subscribers, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't, so we can reach that goal as soon as possible. And yeah, I appreciate you guys watching the videos, and I'll see you all in the next one.